I used to rehearse conversations for the grocery store checkout line like it was a job interview. Full script, contingencies for every direction of small talk, all for a transaction that takes 90 seconds. That wasn't politeness. That was armor for a fight that was never happening. Hey, I'm Dr. Regina, Ph.D., and this is Divergent Paths, the podcast where we unpacked the lived experiences of late-diagnosed neurodivergent adults. Make sure to subscribe to my newsletter, Nerd Notes, where I share even more tips for making your unique brain feel like home. The link is in the show description. In this episode, Russ and I are talking about intentional masking. For many late-diagnosed or late-identified folks, masking is an unconscious process where you seek safety through concealing behaviors that have been communicated to you as problematic or that create too much friction. You don't always think about it. It kind of just happens. We're going to discuss how to build an understanding of your capacity for masking and how and when you need to armor up.
So wait a second. Now you're telling people to mask? Isn't the whole point of this?
I know we have spent how many
masking?
episodes talking about how to unmask. Okay. And now I'm like, maybe
it's time. Maybe I could see it, but tell me where it would come into play.
Where it would happen. Let's talk a little bit about what the kind of difference is, right? So a lot of us who've been masking for most of our lives, this is a very automatic process, right? This is not something you're thinking about. It's reflexive. You just automatically kick into masking. Running through scenarios, like I said in the open, of going through the grocery line, what kind of small talk you might make. And it's a way of kind of armoring up and protecting yourself, right? From social awkwardness or things that might have been, I don't want to say scary because that's not quite the right word, but uncomfortable, right? Masking makes things more comfortable for everybody, for you and for the other people. When I talk about intentional masking, I'm talking about choosing to mask, where you make a conscious decision to mask in a certain situation based on your awareness of what that situation is going to be like, what the demands are going to be for you, and taking in consideration your own energy capacity. Because as we know, masking is a draining experience. So this is more about that decision, right? When you choose to mask versus you just automatically putting on a performance all the time.
I'm thinking about cruise control.
That's
right?
A
like
great
you get
metaphor.
In the car, you're on the freeway, you're like, you know what? I just feel like not focusing on having to drive. I want whatever. So you hit cruise control and you're just cruising along.
That's what automatic masking would be.
Okay.
Yes. Where you just have it running, right? And you're not thinking about the speed limit necessarily or how fast you're going because you have put that part of yourself just automatically runs. Right. So now that I'm thinking it through and talking it through, it might be a better metaphor, might not work for everybody because are there any manual transmission cars out there anymore? No, nobody drives manual transmission anymore.
Here in the States, in other countries, they would call our automatic a toy.
Yes, exactly. So there are other places, but definitely, definitely in the States there isn't as much. But I would think that would be a better metaphor of an automatic transmission just makes the decisions for you as to when you're going to shift. Whereas a manual transmission, you are actively making that decision and you can downshift if you need to and you have more control. So we're looking at this at becoming something that is a more controlled experience versus something that you're not thinking about and you're just letting run to drain your energy.
So you mentioned in the grocery store, you were putting up an armor for a fight. Potentially, or something, right? Can I change that to rejection? You're putting up armor to not be rejected by the person?
Yes, because that's one of the things because so many of us have rejection sensitivity, your mask helps protect you from that emotional experience. You're working to stay safe and to not feel rejected. And the opening was intended to be amusing. It's a very low stakes interaction at the grocery store. But that doesn't really change it because you can still ruminate over the stupid thing you said at the checkout line, right?
Totally. Yeah.
You can still get stuck in oh my God, that was so embarrassing. I said that thing and it was awful. And I still cringe at it from that. So like any social interaction really could be something that you want to protect yourself from rejection for looking silly or making yourself stand out in a way you're uncomfortable with.
And once you do it once, then all of a sudden you're thinking about that, and now you're going to do it again, or it's just going to build and build.
So and maybe then you reinforce that neural pathway, and it just keeps reinforcing itself because you still keep thinking of it that way.
Don't think about a pink elephant, right?
Exactly. Look at all those pink elephants in my brain right now.
They're pretty. I like them.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you know? Let's talk capacity. Like, when do you have the capacity to unmask versus, let me just put up this mask? Right. How do you know when to do what?
The difficult thing about figuring out capacity is that it's a moving target, right? There are so many things that impact how much capacity you have at any given time. So the amount of sleep you got, the amount of sensory difficulties are in any situation, how many other things you might be managing. I walk into my office every day and I don't know how much capacity I'm going to have when I walk in. And I walk in the same office and I sit in the same chair and I have X number of same things happening, but I never really know what my full capacity is going to be that day. And so because masking is one of those things there's a cost associated with it, right? It does drain from that capacity. Learning to analyze what your situations you're going to be in are going to be like, thinking about what the social demands are going to be, how high stakes those social demands are. Like, for example, having coffee with a friend, right, is probably low stakes. Masking, right? It's low stakes. It's not going to, if you are a person who likes to have coffee with your friends, it's not necessarily going to drain your capacity. It might fill it up some, it might take some away, but there is a back and forth of you thinking about what the demands are going to be on you in any given day and how you can work within those demands.
And maybe this is just because you said cost, but is this worth setting a budget for? Like understanding your daily, weekly, monthly budget of things so that when you're looking at your calendar, you're like, I'm not going to schedule 3 coffees with friends this weekend. I'm going to schedule 1.
Yes, absolutely. And keeping in mind, like, what your high cost items are, period. Maybe going to the dentist is a really high cost event. So the day or the week that you have a dentist appointment, you keep in mind the fact that dentist appointment is going to drain more of your capacity for that week than the week you didn't have a dentist appointment, right? Because there's a lot of sensory stuff involved with the dentist. There's a lot of people have a lot of fear, and there can be pain associated with it and all kinds of other stuff going on. So
I feel like even just saying dentist probably.
Right. I might have. I'm sorry for anybody listening who might have real fear about this, but I do want to address that too. Like, for neurodivergent people who are late identified or late diagnosed, like, you might not have known why going to the dentist was such a difficult thing to do, right? And it is in part because there's lights in your eyes, you have to wear a mask, you have all of these other things that are going on associated with it.
Is this this feels like it's an on-off switch, not a dimmer, like going into this whole masking thing, right? You're either all in or you're all, is there a partial mask you're putting on?
I think that is part of it, is learning that it doesn't have to be entirely, like, your mask doesn't have to mask you entirely, right? It might be that you mask your frustration when you're in an environment that you find challenging. And now I'm thinking a little bit about what it's like to visit family sometimes, right? When I used to go home to see my mom, I always knew one of the things that would be difficult for me sensory wise was her need to leave the TV on
and really loud. I think.
Really loud and in the other room, and like we weren't in there, so like we weren't watching the TV. Like there were times we were watching the TV, we'd watch a movie or something together, that was fine, but she would leave it on something like QVC or something that had really like loud and abrasive and that kind of selling, like, oh my God, there's only 5 minutes left to get this at this price or whatever they do. All of that kind of chatter was just a constant coming from her room, right? And I would have to brace myself knowing that I am very auditory sensitive. I am very sensitive to noise inputs, especially noise inputs that I can't control. And the fact that she didn't hear it. It didn't bother her to have it, right? And it was probably that
white noise.
Exactly. Like white noise. She didn't notice it, but I couldn't. It was just always so grating for me. So, and I would go in sometimes when I knew it was going to overwhelm me, I would go turn it off. And she would notice sometimes and not others. But preparing myself for the fact that was going to be an annoyance and something that I was going to have to do. So like intentionally masking might be going into an environment like that and doing your best to mask how much that's bothering you.
It's interesting too. I would think you leading up to that situation, you're on the road and driving and you're prepping yourself, right? You're already spending some of your masking budget because you're now prepping, knowing that it's coming.
Yeah.
Which is already taking a toll on you. And then you get there and it's
that's already a drain on, like traveling in itself is a drain on capacity, right? Because there's so many things you can't control. It's
but I'm just saying the expectation of knowing that you're going to have to put on that mask and having to deal with that situation. That's the bigger tax that you have to deal with your masking budget or
your masking budget and keeping track of how much it's going to take away from you and knowing that that wasn't going to be the only in that environment. That wasn't going to be the only rub. It was one I could, like I said, I could turn the TV off and she usually wouldn't notice. But if I was staying several days in a row, she would go to bed and in the morning she'd have the TV on all night. She slept with it on usually. And in the morning it would be back on again. So it was always a thing that I then had to like, it wasn't like, because I turned it off once, it went away. It was like, okay, the next day it's back again, that kind of thing. So
what happens? Is there like overdraft protection? What happens when like you're out of credits?
Sometimes that is what happens. And you just have to, you run out of your capacity to mask. Part of this is learning your internal checks. And I say this a lot with my clients when I'm working with clients who are learning to unmask and are especially at the early stages of learning to unmask, because we're not used to internal checks. We're not used to keeping track of what it's costing us. We're used to pushing through it. We're used to ignoring it. We're used to just doing things because we need to do them. And we're not used to that process of thinking about, okay, can I afford this interaction at this time? And this is the thing that's been the most empowering for me with this is now I will just say to my people, like if I have planned something just a couple of weeks ago, it's summer where we're at, I got invited to take my daughter to the opening day of a pool. It was going to be a big thing and all kids were going to go. And I just, the night before, only felt dread about going, like only felt dread. I was not excited. I was not looking forward to it. It just was sitting on me like a bag of stones. And I was like, I can't do this. I have run out of the capacity for doing this. And I just reached out to my friends and I was like, listen, I had XYZ happen and all this stuff leading up to this, and where I would love to, and where I knew my daughter was going to be disappointed that we didn't, I wasn't going to be able to do it. I just wasn't going to be able to do it. And my friends are amazing. And they're just like, hey, it's okay. I am so glad you know exactly what you need and how to say it, and that you're taking care of yourself. And those are your people.
Now, not all friends are like that, though. You get some friends where it's like, oh, you're canceling on me. What the heck, man? Like, why?
Yeah.
What I've done, for me, it's if I feel like doing something, I do it. If I don't. And if a friend is not okay with that, then it's okay with me. Like, you got to sort of watch out for yourself. You don't realize that early on.
You don't.
In relationships or just as you're growing in life. Like you start to realize that later that, oh,
yeah,
I can actually say no to something. I can not go to a party or not go to a coffee or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay to reschedule.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a funny conversation for this particular episode because this is the, fifth time that we've tried to schedule this in the past week and a half. But like we've been okay.
You almost made water come out of my nose with that one.
I saw that. But it's like we're okay with that. And we just realized, okay, if you and I, like, if you would have said one of those times, oh no, we really need to get the show done because I want to put it out this week.
Right.
I want to put it out Friday. I would probably have done it.
Sure.
But would it have been a good show? Right. Would it have been enjoyable for us and people listening? Probably
exactly.
Not,
yeah.
Right. So I think you get to a point too where you realize, okay, I could go to this party, but I'm just going to be a bummer. Right.
Yep. Go ahead.
There was one party that I went to long ago. This is more than a decade ago, but it was one of those things where, oh, the kids hang out with those kids, so we should go to this party and it's parents and blah, 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 blah. And I was just not feeling it. And we had so many things to do around the house that I was trying to get stuff done before that, and I couldn't. And the one thing that was on my mind and that was bugging me was that we didn't have the sheets done. And it was like, it's the day that we're going to wash the sheets. I'm like, I don't want to get home and either have to sleep on the couch or something or grab a sleeping bag or whatever, because the sheets are like in the washer. They need to be dry. So I might have to go home and I'm going to have to deal with this somehow. Anyway, during the party, I'm just kind of sitting there like nothing's happening. I'm like, I could walk home right now, do the laundry, get a couple of other things done and come back. And nobody's even going to know I'm gone. So I did it. I left, came home, and I'm like, wow, the sheets are drying. I'm going to do the dishes. I may as well. Did all of these different things that I needed to do and get done. The kids had made a mess in the kitchen, like making something. So I cleaned that up. And then I go back to the party feeling so good because those things weren't on my mind anymore. And then the last, 20 minutes of the party, I had a great time. First 20 minutes sucked. And leaving
you could
for
relax.
the 2 hours in the middle that nobody noticed I was gone was a good thing. But it's like taking care of yourself, as we often say on this.
Yep.
I think that was a situation where I felt so much better. And I could go back. Yeah. I'm not masking when I go back. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm having a good time.
Yeah. And somebody might have noticed that you were gone, and then you would have been like, listen, I had something that was pressing on me and I wanted to get it done. And your people will accept that, right? I could have pushed through the pool day. I could have pushed through. I could have done it. I could have faced all of the different things in that were going to be challenges for me to do it, and I could have done it. And it likely would have ruined the next day or even the next couple of days.
Exactly. You would have spent all your budget.
Right.
It would have been,
the capacity would have been,
masking dollars.
Capacity would have been gone. Yeah. So when we think about intentionally masking, we're thinking about questions like this. How do you do something like your party example, but every day? Right.
I think it's also, what's that old saying? How do you get to, I don't know, whatever that place is in New York where the music place that I can't think of right now.
Broadway.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall or something
Carnegie
like
Hall.
that?
Yes,
practice. And I think this is the same thing, right? You've got to really practice this. And I think it took me a long time of practicing to realize all of these things.
Yeah.
And it is something that it feels weird that you have to practice this. Right?
Yeah. But and you do. You have to practice. You have to start catching when your mask automatically comes on. That's really the first step. It's not necessarily by changing anything. It's just noticing the environments where the mask will flip on, like when it turns on and you don't notice? What is that environment? What's going on in that situation? Is it, like I said, where certain auditory stimuli will cause my mask to come up because I just need to be protected from how much that's irritating me, and I want to protect everybody else from how much it's irritating me too? Figure out what low stakes environments are for you. Where are places that you feel comfortable, people you feel comfortable with, physical environments you feel comfortable in, and practice intentional masking where you can do, like, instead of being a big, heavy, thick mask or armor necessarily, how can you approach it with less armor? Can you just put a shield? Can you just carry a shield, which you can move back and forth versus having to wear full armor? Sometimes you'll need to fix things because this isn't going to be a linear process. This isn't, oh, now I know exactly when and where and how I'm going to mask. When you've been masking for most of your life, that automatic switch, like you said, just comes on. And that's not a fault, and it's not something that you should feel bad about when it comes on. Just noticing that it's come on is what we're looking for, right? We're looking for, oh wow, I masked in that environment and I didn't know I would. And being able to intentionally mask means learning where the switch is, learning when, yes, some idealized version of I want to live a life where I don't have to mask at all, that would be lovely, but it is probably unrealistic, right? We do need to have just some intention behind this. It's never going to be that you don't have some armor on. So I want to ask you, since you've known me for a long time, have you noticed me masking in real time? Have you seen it or observed it, like when we've been hanging out together?
You're asking that like I would say no.
No, I'm perfect. You have to make sure all the listeners know that I am absolutely flawless. They all know that's not true because I talk enough about my own struggles in this show.
No, I would say the thing that comes to mind right away was dinner after Comic-Con last year.
Okay.
Yeah. The person that you had brought to dinner, it felt like you were masking, like putting on a mask for that person. You seem like a bit of a different person.
Interesting.
Yeah. Plus you turned red a lot.
I was also, I had alcohol. So
yeah, there's that.
That might have something to do with the red. But I have as I've talked about, I have a lot of trouble not masking in romantic relationships. That is definitely the place where I am most likely to mask and to try to protect myself and try to protect the connection, I think, because I have put so much value on romantic connections for so much in my life that when I really want the people that I'm romantically involved with to like me.
So with that, you've realized where it comes into play for you.
Correct.
And how you can utilize it when you need to and remove it when you need to. And then also where it's a kind of a judge on the relationship as well, because I would assume that the more you can unmask, the better the relationship's going to be. And
absolutely.
The better feelings you can have about that relationship.
Yeah, goals for significantly close relationships of any kind for me right now is to be as unmasked as possible with the people that I'm with, and to notice the patterns, like you're saying, of when it automatically comes on. Because until you said that in this moment, I didn't even think about the fact that I had been masking at that dinner. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. The dinner after, it was the end of Comic-Con.
Yeah,
the last day that you were in Portland.
Right.
So I know exactly the situation you're talking about. And thinking about the circumstances around a lot of what was happening, I can totally see how I would have been masking. And so it's a particular flag for me right now to notice when it's happening in romantic relationships. And part of that is because I haven't really been in consistent romantic relationships, or very many, or at all really, in the last 2 years. And the couple of times I've been dipping my toes into that, it has turned out to be not great.
Hopefully they're not listening. Right. All right. So you're working through this with you, but you also work through this with your clients.
With my clients, yes. Yeah. Intentional masking is really a sustainable skill for us to learn. And learning your capacity is among the first things you need to do in order to learn how to mindfully mask. So if you need help determining your capacity and how much you think you can do versus how much you can actually do, or where some of these sticky points might be for you, like they are for me with romantic relationships, book a Make It Make Sense call with me. The link is in the show notes, and let's talk about what intentionally unmasking looks like. Until next time, armor up when you need to, but let that soft, squishy inside out when you can.